Hey everyone, it's Melanie. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going to do the final video of the Your First Quilt Series. Woohoo, we made it to the end. Wow, over 100,000 of you have seen that first video. I am blown away by how much impact that has made for beginner quilters out there. I get messages all the time. You guys have really resonated with it. I'm so glad. So today's video, we're going to talk about how to take care of your quilts and wash them, and how to label them. I wanted to mention really quick, if you've been following along with this series and you want to take it to the next level, I'm opening up my once a year quilt along in May. So if you're watching this video in spring of 2019, definitely check it out. I will put the link for the waitlist down below. Really great resource. I have tons of additional kind of quilting content that helps you go to the next level on my premium site. So check that out if you're interested, but let's jump right into what we're going to talk about today, which is how to wash your quilts. I am a firm believer in that you should wash and use and love your quilts. They shouldn't be stashed away in a cupboard or put on the back of a chair and forbidden to be used or touched. Okay, I am a firm believer in using and loving your quilts. And so that means you're gonna have to wash them occasionally, and that is just fine. We're using high quality fabrics, we're using a machine to stitch them. There's no problem with putting them through the wash. I wash mine on cold, sometimes on the delicate cycle, but you don't have to. You can just wash it in with a bunch of your other quilts and blankets. And the first time I wash my quilts, I put a color catcher in there, just in case there's any dyes that wash out in the washing process. It rarely ever happens that it's a problem, but it has happened to me a few times over the dozens and dozens of quilts that I've made that the dye kind of leaks a little bit in the wash. So wash it the first time by itself with a color catcher, promptly remove it from the washer, and tumble dry low. No need to air dry it. Put this puppy in the dryer and get that nice, yummy, crinkly goodness when it comes out of the dryer. So that's how to wash it. If you can, roll it to store it. If it's like a seasonal quilt or something that's going to be put away, try to roll it if you can. It just helps it so it doesn't get those creases that you can see sometimes when you pull blankets out of the cupboard that have been there for a long time. Something to keep in mind. But also, before you wash it, let's label it. This is a piece of art. It's a piece of your work. And I think it's really important to label these as you're making them so that you can look back, or that if it's a gift, that gift can be remembered. Who made it? When did they make it? Did it have a name or a title? So here's my label. I'll put another close-up up here. Basically, this is what should be on your label, and then we're gonna go over, I'm gonna show you exactly how to make your label, or at least how I make mine. There are a lot of options in this realm, and I'll kind of go over some of those too. But I want you to put who made the quilt. Made by, Melanie Ham, or if I'm giving it to my nephew, made by Auntie Melanie Ham. Okay, maybe your title in there too, so that when you're gifting it, they know who that is. I also want to include the date or the season in which you finished it. So let's say maybe spring 2019 or winter 2019, or maybe a month. It doesn't have to be a specific date, but just something so that you know kind of in general when it was made. And then if it's an heirloom kind of quality quilt, you're going to be enjoying this for years and years to come, and it'll be really fun to have that date. The other thing I love to see on labels is some sort of a phrase, maybe like a Bible verse or a word of encouragement, or maybe a quote that you really love. Just something that sort of adds your own personality to the label. Of course, that's optional. I think if you have your name and the date, that's the minimum. But a lot of times you can add these extra things, or a special note to the person you're gifting it to. Or if you were overcoming some sort of grief or tough time in your life while you were doing that, you can kind of make a little note of that as well to help you remember it by. And then you can add the name of the quilt. If you named it, or it was a pattern name, if you'd like to add that, or your first quilt, patchwork quilt, cat quilt, whatever it is, you can add that in, as well as maybe who it's gifted to. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that I have labeled my quilts. This way is the simplest way. It's just using a light piece of fabric and a fabric marker to write it in your own handwriting on the label, and then you hand stitch it on. There are also other ways to do it, like hand embroidering a label. I have done that. That obviously is going to take a lot more time. So I've only done that for like very, very special quilts. Most of the time this is the way that I do it, because by the time I'm labeling my quilt, I am so ready to be done with it and move on to the next one. There are also things like spoon flower, or things where you can get fabric printed, or different sort of like pre-made options. I'll put some links to different ones that I've seen. Those are great options as well, and they can add a little bit of style and flair. So the first thing that you need is just a scrap piece of light colored fabric, just something that you can see your handwriting on. And then some fabric markers. So these are good. They have a pretty fine tip, just something that you can easily write with. The Micron 05 is also a great one. Micron is an archival ink pen. I keep those in my studio, and I use those as well because it has that real fine tip. So something like that, where you can write your message with a fabric marker and it will sustain many washes. That being said, this method, over lots of washes, the marker will kind of fade a bit over time. So if there's something super special, you may want to do something like embroidery, or something that's just going to like really kind of stand out. And that's the way my mom does it as well. It's the way I like to do it, and I think that this is a great practice and habit to get into, so that you are labeling your artwork and you're remembering your progression. Of course, I have not labeled all of my quilts. I am guilty, but I really try to encourage, especially beginners, to get in the habit of doing that, especially if it's a gift. I always label it if it's a gift. If it's for me or for a project, I'm guilty of skipping that step. Okay, so that's it. We have completed your first quilts. I would love to know in the comment section down below how you thought this process went. Are there any additional questions that you have? I know there's like a lot more to quilting than even this series was able to cover. I would love to interact with you guys and hear what you think. So let me know in the comment section, questions, comments. Check out my blog. There's lots of resources out there for you, free resources that aren't even the quilt along. I hope you enjoyed this Your First Quilt series. Here's to some more quilting adventures in the future. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.